Welcome to Moosehead Lake. Today we're touring one of the most unique waterfront properties I've ever had the opportunity to showcase. And before we step inside, I want to tell you a little bit about this place that makes this home so special. Because when you're looking at a property like this, you're not just buying a house, you're definitely buying a lifestyle, and you're buying an experience. And in many ways, you're buying a piece of Maine. Today we're at 67 Sandy Bay Road in Greenville, Maine. This is a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath waterfront retreat set on 2.7 acres with over 200 feet of owned frontage on Moosehead Lake, which is the largest lake in Maine. The home offers just over 1,800 square feet of living space, a detached powered barn with storage above, and some of the most authentic Maine camp character you'll find anywhere. But before we walk through the property, let's talk about where we are. Because Greenville isn't just another lake town. In fact, Greenville is known as the gateway to Maine's North Woods. And for over a century, people have been traveling here in search of something that's becoming harder and harder to find: space, nature, and quiet, an absolute connection to the outdoors. This home is nestled at the southern tip of Moosehead Lake. Greenville has long been the launching point for adventures into one of the most beautiful remote regions of the Northeast. Long before roads connected much of this area, Native Americans traveled these waters for transportation, trade, hunting, and fishing. The Wabanaki people knew the value of this landscape long before maps were drawn and towns were established. Later came the logging industry, and massive white pines floated through waterways that helped build cities throughout New England. Logging camps eventually spread throughout the North Woods, and guides led sportsmen into the wilderness, and Moosehead Lake became famous. By the late 1800s, wealthy visitors from Boston, New York, and Philadelphia were traveling here by train. Can you imagine that? People were traveling hundreds of miles to experience exactly what we're looking at right now. You know, the same mountains, the same water, the same incredible sunsets, and the same peaceful way of life. And honestly, not much has changed. And that is one of the reasons people love this area so much. It still feels so authentic. And Moosehead Lake itself is truly remarkable. At nearly 75,000 acres, it's the largest lake entirely within Maine. It stretches almost 40 miles from end to end and contains more than 80 islands. And when people visit for the first time, many are surprised by the scale. It feels less like a lake and more like an inland sea. So now let's take a look inside. We just took a zip around the enclosed porch, which gives you views on the backside down into the lake. So as you walk in through that door, we pass the little utility room where all the systems are placed. This home does not have a basement. It has a crawl space. And so that's why the utilities are in its own closet. So you have a a gas stove, and all the amenities that you would have in a traditional home. And as we peek through that open space, you can see the remarkable fireplace. And that's double faced if you caught it on the other side in the porch as well. This was filmed in early spring, and with summer right around the corner, that means boating, fishing, kayaking, paddleboarding, swimming, and evenings on the water watching the sun disappear behind the mountains. And can't you see yourself doing all that from that wonderful porch? What I love about Greenville is that it's not just about scenery, and Moosehead Lake is really active all year round. Fall transforms the landscape into one of the most spectacular foliage destinations anywhere in the Northeast. And winter turns Greenville into a snowmobiling paradise with hundreds of miles of intercoastal trail systems that attract visitors from all over the country. And of course, summer means boating, fishing, kayaking, paddleboarding, swimming, and evenings on the water watching the sun disappear behind the mountains. So this home sits on 2.78 acres and offers just over 200 feet of owned water frontage. In today's market, that's increasingly difficult to find, especially in Greenville and especially on Moosehead Lake. The property is tucked away in a very private setting where the focus is entirely on the lake, the trees, and the surrounding natural beauty. What I also love about this property is it's got a first floor primary ensuite and a half bath as well on the first floor. And perhaps the most remarkable thing about this property is that it has never been offered for sale before. The moment you arrive, you understand that this isn't a house designed to impress strangers. It's a home built to be enjoyed, a place created for gathering, for slowing down, for spending time with the people who matter most. Some of my favorite things about this property is the soaring cathedral ceiling and the massive stone fireplace, plus the knotty pine interior. It just gives that camp feeling, but also has all the amenities that you would need to live here year round as well. That screened wraparound porch is something that you really will never take for granted, because if you've ever stepped into the woods in Maine in the summertime, you know that sometimes the mosquitoes and the black flies can take over, and being able to be so far into the woods and so close to the water and have that protection it's just really like it's worth the money just to have that, honestly. Okay, so now we're going to take a look upstairs, and I love the railing in this staircase. Isn't it just so beautiful? It's that birch tree look, and it's just so exquisite. So as we get to the top of the stairs, you have another full bath, and to the left is another bedroom, and then there's that cathedral space. You see the fireplace, some windows in the roof, skylights. It's just brings in that natural light. And then here are the second and third bedrooms upstairs. So for a total of 4 bedrooms, because you've got the primary suite again downstairs. The rooms are really spacious and ample. They've got cable, they have closets, or space for dressers. And again, that knotty pine just gives that exceptional Maine camp look. This home was built in 2002, and there is a small $300 a year association fee that really covers the road association, that helps them maintain all that. They're dirt roads, but they're used year round. I love that there are the bedrooms upstairs with the full bath and the primary suite downstairs on the first floor with its own bath, because you can have that like separation. So if you have guests, you can have a little more privacy with your ensuite. Plus, the laundry is tucked into that ensuite bathroom. And who doesn't love a good first floor laundry? Especially when you come off the lake, you can just throw your wet towels right in the laundry. Don't have to schlep it through the house. This home also got a brand new propane fired boiler. So that was just installed in April of 2026. So with the property being only, 24 years old and a new boiler, and it's going to be very low maintenance for the next home buyer. And would any Maine home in the woods be complete without a whole house generator? I think not, because this home comes with it as well. What I love about the northern Maine woods, in Greenville especially, there are just no crowded neighborhoods. There's no busy roads, and it's just the peace and quiet people come to Maine hoping to find. Now we're going to take a tour of the porch on the other side. So it does go mostly around the whole house. And as you can see, you have access from the living room as well as the kitchen, as well as that front door entryway, and also the primary ensuite, which I think is so cool. And look at that view. It's so beautiful. Standing here and looking down the shoreline, it's so easy to understand why so many people fall in love with this place. One of the things Moosehead Lake is perhaps most famous is for its wildlife. If you've ever wanted to see a moose in its natural habitat, this is one of the best places in the country to do it. There's moose sightings are very common, and so are bald eagles, loons and foxes, white-tailed deer, and countless of other species. I love this boardwalk that leads down to the shore. If you've never been to Moosehead Lake, let me tell you, it's one of the cleanest and clearest lakes that I've ever seen in my entire life. Rising dramatically from the water, nearly 700 feet straight up, is Mount Kineo, and it has become one of the symbols of Moosehead Lake. Thousands of years ago, Native Americans traveled great distance to quarry a rhyolite stone from the mountain. And today, hikers climb to the summit and are rewarded with some of the most spectacular views in New England. Lily Bay State Park is also nearby, and the region is one of the darkest sky areas in the Northeast for stargazing. It just is absolutely exceptional. And now may I present you with your moment of Zen. Greenville is also a major destination for fly fishing, salmon fishing, and lake trout fishing. Now we're back up on the wrapped around porch. And one thing that I love too about this property is the shingle siding. It just gives that authentic Maine camp look, and it just looks so beautiful against the backdrop of the woods and the lake. And as we peek around the corner, that's the other side of that beautiful stone fireplace in the living room. Those church cathedral windows are a very nice touch as well. This porch is so big, and I love that it, again, having it enclosed, I cannot say enough about it. Let's take a look at the barn. That lean-to was added onto the barn in 2005. And this certainly could be used as a garage. They were using it more of like a bar space for the family. And right now it's kind of a catch-all space as they're preparing to put the property on the market. But what I love about this property is that it's got an upstairs, a walk-up that you could easily, according to code, if you do all the things that you need to do to satisfy them, turn it into another living space. So, and one of those things is also expanding the septic system. However, if you were looking to maybe do an Airbnb and you didn't want to rent out the main house, you could do it this way, or vice versa, rent out the main house and live over the barn, or just simply use it as what they were using as, storage, a family bar, and leave it as at that. This also is a great space to house all the toys. So boats, jet skis, canoes, kayaks. This would be the perfect space and ample space to do so. If you've ever dreamed of owning a true Maine camp on Moosehead Lake, this may be one of the most special opportunities to come to market in years. And so I'm Kim Tarbox with 5 Realty Maine. And if you like more information about this property, Greenville, or waterfront living in Maine, reach out anytime. And if you enjoy these tours, be sure to subscribe. And because every week I showcase unique homes and communities across the state of Maine.